All right, I'd like to officially welcome everyone to the September Inland SoCal Housing Collective meeting. Thanks to all for attending. We have a great group here, people still rolling in. We have an exciting agenda today. Today we're focusing on the Prohousing Pilot Grant that HCD had awarded. And we're doing that especially because we have two cities in the IE who were awarded this grant. And we wanted to highlight them, highlight the cities, and give them a platform and an opportunity to connect and tell us a little bit about what they're doing and some of the housing strategies and how they foresee implementing that. So it's very exciting. We're very happy for the region and want to elevate the success of our partners. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first presenter. We have Patrick Martinez, who's the city manager of the city of Needles. So he's here with us. We're really appreciative of him. He's like juggling a very complex schedule and traveling right now. So we're really appreciative of him showing up and sharing with us about what the city of Needles is doing. So Patrick, if you want to go ahead.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you, Melanie. And thank you to the Inland SoCal Housing Collective for letting us tell our story today. So let me pull up. Okay. All right. So I'm assuming you guys can all see my screen. So in front of you, so thank you to the Inland SoCal Housing Collective. I'm going to mute my camera so you're not focused on me, but the Prohousing Incentive Program and the City of Needles 2023. Just a little bit, I want to give you a little bit of background about Needles because I'm sure all of you aren't 100% familiar with Needles is, but Needles is on, we like to say, the east coast of California. And so it's on the border of Arizona and Nevada, the furthermost east coming into from those states. And so we are bordered by the Colorado River, and that's why we say that we are the east coast of California, because on the other side of the Colorado River is Arizona. And so it's a little fun fact about Needles. So, we've all got these council visions and priorities that the city council adopts, but generally the city prides itself on being a family-oriented location with rich historical history that dates back to the railroad and Route 66. By promoting long-term stability, promoting beautification, regional cooperation, and increased economic activity are really the backbone of our council goals and what we pride ourselves moving forward. The city itself, since 2023, has had tremendous value being added to in its total assessed property value by the San Bernardino County Assessor's Office. So basically, just to give you an idea, since 2017, it's gone up 72%, which has been a huge jump, and I'm going to tell you why. But for a city of 5,000 people, 32 square miles, we're traditionally a low-income community, and so we're just very have lots of pride with the efforts that we've been able to make in these last few years, dating back to 2017. And so just to give you a little bit of the economics, we are a tourist community being located on the Colorado River. We've got Lake Havasu and Laughlin adjacent to us, Bullhead. These are the various cities on the other side of the border, but we are a heavy tourism community. These last 9 years, we've seen an increase of 108% of our total revenues come in for the last 9 years from the city, which has been huge for us because, as I had mentioned, we are a low-income community, and it's hard to find those revenue sources. And so everybody, especially during COVID, you can see that year where it dipped. These are the total revenues from the hotels that they're brought in. So we get 10% of this. I don't want everybody to think that we're bringing $11 million a year, but so we get 10% of this, which is a big number for a small city like ours. Sales tax comparisons, you can see that over the last 9 years, those two have gone up significantly, 186%. We'll talk about why. And then here's one of my favorite slides. So basically, back in 2012, the city of Needles passed Measure S, which provided an opportunity for the city to engage in the state allowed enterprise of cannabis. And so we got into that in 2015. It actually dates back to 2012, where we had some cannabis, or the retail component, just show up overnight. The state allowed it. We immediately moved to ban them. And then in 2012, the city council approved a tax measure. Fine, you want to exist, but we're going to tax you at 10%. So, I appreciate the city's forethought looking back at this, back in 2012, to be able to really see that there was an economic opportunity for us, but that really didn't kick in to the state allowed cultivation, manufacturing, and all these other entitlements to occur for the other gamut of businesses that the cannabis industry provides. And so just to give you an idea, the city of Needles in 2013 had a total budget of around $4 million. And so over these last few years, we've been able to really increase our revenues, not only on the TOT side, but also from these cannabis revenues. We've been able to really have an economic effect on our community, being able to, and I'll get into those in a little bit, what's that look like. But, these last few years, we brought in since the approval of the tax, we brought in almost $18 million. And again, for a small community like the city of Needles, that's huge. But another aspect, it really ties into our economic development strategies. We've been able to create jobs in our city. So just to give you an idea, there were 1,500 total jobs in our community, and we've been able to increase those by 583. Again, these are all done by the private sector. The city only entices and creates an environment where these businesses can create these jobs. But the problem that I have, you can see from this slide that 340 folks are actually living in Arizona and 202 are living in Nevada, and only 118 are living in Needles. And that's because we don't have enough housing. And I think we'll get into that in a little bit, but keep that in the back of your head. Needles needs housing, and we've been able to create this industry, and we're struggling to get on that housing side. And we'll talk about why in a second. But basically, economic development strategy was simple: create a business-friendly environment where you attract businesses, where people need housing. It increases the population, and then it brings developers and retails to follow. And we've been able to stay true to that by winning, by seeing it in person. You just saw all those jobs being created. You've also seen the economic revenues come in on my slides. And then we were able to win the CalEd Economic Development Excellence Award for a game changer economic development strategy. And that was the green cannabis initiative that the city approved. And so again, we're on this path to recovery, which has been great for the city. We don't have a Starbucks, but we now have this filter change where you can get your coffee and your lube and latte at the same time, which is really exciting for us. We've got our first interior entrance hotel in the city of Needles, our first Hampton Inn. They've already put in for 18 more rooms. So there's going to be 100 rooms total in the Hampton Inn, and they're looking to expand a home to suites across the street. Tesla has also invested heavily into our city. Obviously, this has all been private investment made into our community, and that shows that our economic development initiative is working to a certain extent, but it's going to come to a halt, screaming halt pretty soon. And we'll talk about why. And then here's just the Needles Marina storage. We've been able to take some of those monies and put them back into our infrastructure. The city council woke up one day and they didn't want to not remember what happened to those cannabis revenues. As we just talked about, 17 million has been brought in since the beginning of the initiative. And so we wanted to really focus on rebuilding our infrastructure. And that really ties into housing, because if you don't got good streets, if you've got aging infrastructure, you can't produce housing. And so we really had to focus on the basics before we could even entice housing to be built in our community. And so we've taken those revenues and put them back into the streets, in our infrastructure. Here's a picture. Every street that gets redone in our community, we go ahead and replace the water lines and service replacements of the water line laterals. And our economic development strategy, as I mentioned, with housing being brought on, was really tied into the infrastructure. And we've been really successful in bringing in almost $24 million with the grants from the state and Caltrans to really rejuvenate the city and help rehabilitate it. You know, it's over 100-year-old city. And so we've really had to look for other options because only the cannabis revenue only goes so far. And so we had to look into getting grants and rebuilding our infrastructure. And here's a picture of the 2.9 Lily Hill booster station that just finished up. Here's another booster station that we've been able to get grant funding for. And then here's another 7.4 million water treatment plant that we're working on. But before we were able to become pro-housing designated or even achieve this pro-housing initiative, the city of Needles hadn't completed its housing element since 2005. And so when I got brought into the city, HCD actually had very harsh words for the city of Needles and actually called the mayor. And I'm sure some of the other municipalities on the phone too got called up to Sacramento and said, hey, you need to get it together. We just didn't have the money to be able to do that. And so we were able to chase grants to be able to get ourselves into compliance so we can get on the track of being pro-housing designated. And so, you know, with park grants, we've been able to rehabilitate our parks as well, but then really focusing on these economic indicators that have been created from this cannabis industry is really putting us into a screeching halt when it comes to the housing. So I can get businesses and I can bring them online and I can get them entitled as quick as I can. But if I don't have houses for their employees, we're going to run into a serious problem. And as you can see, we've got almost 1 million square feet of cannabis businesses that have been entitled. Of those, almost 278,000 are operational. I've got another almost 200,000 coming online in the next 6 months. And so, and then tied in with the Hampton, which has another 40 to 50 employees. So we're just short housing. But here's the kicker. The city of Needles medium household income is only 42,000. And so if you're a developer and you're looking at that number right there, that scares you off. Because if you look at the median household income for the county, it's approximately 69,000. If you look at the state median household income, it's 82,000. The United States is 67. So you can see that the city of Needles is having a really hard time because and the folks that are going to pay for their mortgages, or they're going to their money down for their loan programs, or there's just a barrier to entry for the folks in the city of Needles to get on the path of home ownership. And we all know how important home ownership is for folks. And so just to give you an idea, the median, we just talked about it, but here's the city of Needles. If you look at the HCD numbers, so the lower income for the city is 46 to 74. And so we just talked about it, 42,000. So we've got the folks in Needles, the medium are in the very low income range. And so we had to find a way to be able to provide housing options for these folks because we are in dire need of housing, but when you pencil it out, it's really difficult for the residents in the city of Needles to be able to get the funding necessary to A, build, and then B, get their foot in the door by getting any kind of loan or any kind of opportunity for financing. And so here's the planning grants. We were able to achieve almost 430,000 in planning grants to get ourselves into compliance. And so here's just a picture of us at our open house. But here's one of my favorite slides. I got so basically the Prohousing Incentive Pilot Program was awarded 33 million, and the city of Needles on June 13th was announced to be one of them. And so we received $445,000 from HCD to implement 3 specific programs within our community. So I was reached out by the San Marino County COG, and they said, hey, if we were interested in doing a housing trust regionally, would the city of Needles be interested? And really, we've been doing whatever we can to get housing in our community. And the pro housing was the first step in doing that. And so we had talked to the county, and they had said that we could participate. But again, there was a $25,000 a year entrance fee that was required for the admittance. And again, 25,000 a year for a city like Needles that's a big number. And so basically we were able to utilize the Prohousing Incentive Pilot Program for the first 2 years. We took 50,000 of the 445,000 to put that towards our regional housing trust. And so we wanted to be creative in the way that we were using these Prohousing Incentive Pilot Program, or PIP dollars, so that we could make it go a long way for our community. Our second task that we assigned, or we applied for as part of the PIP program, was the workforce housing rental subsidy. And so we wanted to find a way to subsidize developers to come into our community. The city had already set aside 10% of the cannabis dollars to put towards any kind of non-cannabis business, but we wanted to find another funding source to put towards workforce housing rental subsidies in our community. Because again, we need workforce housing. These folks are making $18 to $25 an hour. And so we need to find ways to help provide housing. And we found this is a very good opportunity for the city to, send out an RFP, bring in a developer, propose a project, and find ways to aid it with the city subsidy, utilizing state funds. They're practically just giving it to us. Yes, you got to jump through some hoops, but it was well worth it. And then task number 3, Needles First Time Home Buyer Program. We thought this is very creative, that we would find a way to put down payment assistance for folks that are buying their first home in the city of Needles. I know there's various programs out there, but we wanted to find our own revenue stream, folks, and this would be reoccurring. And so we're going to create a new program which is similar to the ones in Coachella and Palm Springs, that will help establish a revolving loan fund for down payment for folks that want to buy a home in the city of Needles. And so really that sums up my presentation. And for all those that are wondering what our RHNA numbers are, as you can see, 87. I know all the other municipalities, it's a lot more, but we're a small rural community on the east coast of California that is in really need of housing. And if you know any developers that are looking to expand, or if they want to find other opportunities, Needles is open for business and welcoming folks. And now I stand prepared to answer any questions that you might have.
No question.
All right. Well,
Oh, I'm sorry, I have one.
Oh,
Patrick, thank you for your presentation. We don't get enough East Coast representation often at our Inland SoCal Housing Collective meetings. So we welcome you. Thank you, Mel, for setting this up. Great presentation. So excited for what you're doing in your city. It's fantastic. I wanted to ask, have you put out Surplus Land Act parcels to encourage developers? I'm not sure I remember one coming from Needles. It just may be that I missed it. But how often do you? What has happened with Surplus Land Act in your city?
yeah. So we have numerous parcels that are available for Surplus Land Act. Only a couple actually meet the criteria to put affordable housing on. But basically the day after the Surplus Land Act came into fruition, I went ahead and put it in front of my council, sent it out to HCD. And so our list is up there. We got no takers. And so we do keep an active inventory of land that is available that we will share with whoever wants it. We do have a investor packet, and this presentation is part of this investor packet that we provided to developers. So yeah, we're more than willing to participate and want to encourage and entice development in our community. We do have a couple parcels that would be exciting for housing. And so I'd be more than willing to talk to anybody who is interested in wanting to develop in our town.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. Again, kudos to you. Great work.
Right. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time. I got to go
Right.
back to the League of Cities conference. So thank you all, and you have a great day. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, additional questions, feel free to put them in the chat or email me, and I could connect you and Patrick, so we can get those answered. I see we have one in the chat, and I'll make sure to connect. Our next presenter is also a recipient of the PIP program, and so I have Matthew Taylor, who's here from the city of Riverside. He is the principal planner there. And he is joining us today to share out what their plan is for the city of Riverside in disseminating and starting, the pilot program. So go ahead, Taylor, and take it away. So yeah, there we go. I was gonna say we could see the notes, but we're good now.
All right. Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Matthew Taylor, Principal Planner with the Community and Economic Development Department here in the city of Riverside. I'm actually substituting in for Michelle Davis, who is ill today. But Michelle is the new director of the city's new Department of Housing and Home and Human Services, which was just approved by our council a couple of weeks ago and unites the city's housing authority, its neighborhood engagement division, its CDBG program, the Office of Homeless Solutions, the public safety and engagement teams, all under a single department that is led by Michelle, who is really, really remarkable human being. So couldn't have picked a better person to lead that department. So I'm a principal planner with the advanced planning team, and I worked very closely with Michelle and the Housing Authority folks. We have a couple of them, Andrea and Agrippina, on the call today, to develop the city's pro-housing designation application and apply for the Prohousing Incentive Program grant. So most of you probably know a little bit about Riverside, but we are the largest city in Riverside County and in the Inland Empire. We are the county seat. We have about 325,000 people, over 82 square miles, and the city is extremely diverse in its sort of built form, ranging from a dense urban core that dates back to the late 19th century to new 21st century, suburban subdivisions to rural communities and agricultural areas. So really kind of spans the entire kind of transect of different types of urban environments, if you will. We are also a fairly expensive city housing-wise for the Inland Empire. I just checked today, the average asking rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in Riverside is $2,200. And the median home sale price is over $600,000 today. We are, just like everyone else in California and in the region, falling woefully behind in producing housing that is needed at every income level, but particularly at the lower income levels as well. Because of this, and because as the largest city in the region and the county seat and the site of a lot of social services, we also have a fairly significant problem with homelessness and unsheltered homelessness specifically. We do have a council that is for the most part really focused on addressing housing and homelessness as sort of a twinned crisis, and is really forward looking in their approach to how to address both of these things. We adopted a housing first strategy as sort of our kind of North Star in terms of how we approach the homelessness crisis. In 2018, and the city's homelessness action plan was most recently updated about a year ago. Please, Agrippina or Andrea, correct me if I'm misspeaking on any of that, but again, I'm a planner. I am not leading the housing and homelessness or housing and human services department, so I'm doing my best here. But we have a policy framework that exists to kind of guide all of our thinking and our decision making around housing. When we updated our 6-cycle housing element in 2021, one of the new implementation actions was and sort of guiding policy statements is to continually facilitate the relationship between housing providers, both affordable and market rate, CBOs, and other agencies to build a network and nurture partnerships that will help increase affordable housing in the city. Also, the Homelessness Action Plan has a focused goal of increasing housing production with a focus on affordability as well. Those goals specifically numerically are to increase our affordable housing inventory by 5% and to construct 550 new homes, both affordable and market rate every year. As you can see here on this slide, we have a very large RHNA allocation. You can see here the total breakdown was about 18,500 units to plan for during the 6th RHNA cycle. I am happy to report that the housing element update that was adopted by our city council on time in October 2021 identified adequate sites for almost 21,000 units. So we have a fairly comfortable excess over our minimum RHNA allocation just in our sites inventory alone. We also completed rezoning of all of our housing element sites at the same time, concurrently with adoption of the housing element. So we do not have to complete a rezoning program, which is a big relief for me as the principal planner for the advanced planning team, who would be responsible for doing all of that. We've already done it. HCD did certify our housing element about a year later in September of last year. Took a little while, had to do some revisions, had to go back to council once, but we got it done and we got it certified. So I won't spend too much time on this because I think you all are fairly up to speed on what the Pro-Housing Designation Program is and the Pro-Housing Incentive Program is, but basically the Pro-Housing Designation, you have to apply. There's a long application that you need to complete, and basically HCD is going to score your application and award you points in a variety of different areas based on the city's policies and practices and whether or not they're supportive of producing housing at all income levels. And then the Pro-Housing Incentive Program is a bucket of funds that is available to designees of the Pro-Housing recipients of the Pro-Housing designation that can fund various housing related activities. So the city was awarded the Pro-Housing designation in March of this year. And we did receive the Pro-Housing Incentive grant as well for about $2.4 million. And I'll talk a little bit about what we are going to do with that as well. How did we get the Pro-Housing designation? So we were very fortunate, again, going back to that policy framework of wanting to nurture partnerships to help speed and facilitate the creation of affordable housing. WRCOG, our Regional Council of Governments, received a REAP grant from the state through SCAG to support its member jurisdictions with their housing programs. And one of these was technical assistance that they made available. They hired a bunch of consultants, and one of the areas in which you could receive technical assistance was through the Pro-Housing designation. So we were actually approached by SCAG to say, hey, we have funds set aside to do technical assistance. What do you need help with? And then we saw kind of from the list of activities that they could provide technical assistance with that a Pro-Housing designation was on the list. Going for the Pro-Housing designation was one of the action items in our housing element that was adopted and certified. And so we thought, perfect, we have an opportunity to get some consultant help to help prepare this application. So WSP was the consultant that was assigned to us to help us with that application process. And we were able to pull this together over the course of a few months. We went to the city council's housing and homelessness committee to sort of get their feedback on the application. I think we ended up submitting for 45 out of 60 available points. You need a minimum of 30 to receive the designation. This was in December, I believe, of 2022. Right around the time that we learned that the Pro-Housing Incentive Program would become available for cities that received the Pro-Housing designation by March 15th of this year. So then we kind of had to fire on all cylinders to get that application put together and into HCD in time for them to award the designation by the March 15th deadline to apply for the PIP funds. let's see, I just went through all of this on this slide, so I will skip this one. Up to $2 million for jurisdictions with a pro-housing designation of a certain size. So the city of Riverside did qualify for the largest allocation of PIP funds based on our population, and up to $500,000 of additional funding if you had a high-scoring PDP application. If your designation was awarded a certain score or above, you could get a proportional amount of points. I think, like I said, I think we applied for 45 points out of 60. We received 44, which translated to an additional $440,000 on top of the $2 million that we were eligible for. And we used this to fund over 230 affordable units for family housing and for senior housing and permanent supportive housing in 2 different developments that were already in the pipeline. One of these is on surplus state land. The state, through an executive order from Governor Newsom's office, has been sort of shopping around available state land to affordable housing development. This project is located on Mulberry Street in downtown Riverside. It's called Mulberry Gardens. It used to be a CAL FIRE facility, which has been closed for several years. And it's about a 4-acre site, and they will be constructing 150 units of family housing and 59 senior units in 2 or 3 buildings. And we were able to allocate $1 million of PIP funds to that project for gap financing. And then Sunrise at Bogart, which is an NPHS project, is a small project out in Ward 6, which includes 23 permanent supportive housing units on about a 3/4 acre site or so. And that project was allocated $1.4 million in gap financing from the PIP funds that were awarded to us. So this is kind of an overall picture of what our current affordable housing pipeline is. We have 571 units in some phase of construction or planning or entitlement. As you can see here, they are not necessarily very equally distributed throughout the wards, which is something that we're always trying to work on balancing. However, most of these have to do with publicly owned land. Not all of them, but most of them are surplus sites, either state or city or successor agency sites. So, you can't necessarily control where your sites are, but whenever there is opportunity to try to encourage more affordable housing development in other council wards other than the 3 you see represented here, we definitely want to try to do that. Ward 1, just for reference, is where downtown Riverside is located. Ward 2 is where University of California Riverside is located, and Ward 7 is the extreme western edge of the city of Riverside. So the existing current affordable housing stock in the city is about 3,500 units. The majority of these are located in Wards 1 in the northeastern part of the city, near downtown Riverside, and Ward 6 in the western end of the city. That is it for my presentation. Thank you again for having me. I apologize if I skipped anything that anyone is really excited to hear about, because Michelle did prepare this presentation. I did not, but I am happy to answer any questions that I can.
Well, Matthew, this is David Hahn. I would like to say one thing, that this initiative of bringing everybody, all these different departments under one roof, focusing on the same thing and getting everybody on the same page, is a big step forward, and really is a good thing to have in place to support the plans and projects that you guys have coming forward. I think it's a great move, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Michelle and the team and Andrea and everyone run with this. But I think it's the right move at the right time.
Appreciate that. We will definitely share that with Michelle and the team.
Hi, Matthew Ayako, Utsumi here. Great presentation. I just wanted to build on what David just said. The only way we're going to get through this is if we do the silo busting. Everyone talks about silo busting. We've been talking about it for multiple decades. But yet our departments are still siloed. So this is an excellent move. And we look forward to seeing the great work that you will do. But putting everything under one umbrella makes absolute sense. It's very consistent with the state of California's initiatives, Master Plan for Aging, and other initiatives all talk about, aligning incentives, right? Too many of our departments are incentives, financial incentives are not aligned. So then we're not going to work together in a meaningful way. So thank you for this. And we look forward to it. Thanks.
Yeah. Absolutely. I can share as a planner that working closely with the Housing Authority, now the Housing and Human Services Department, is really, really important because they rely on available land that is zoned appropriately for housing, which is in control of the planning division. So, if I maybe have advice for other municipalities that are on the line here is you've got to get your land use planners and your housing folks talking to each other. Linnell asked, how can our housing counseling agency get involved with your plans and projects? I would suggest maybe Agrippina, if you wouldn't mind putting your contact information in the chat. And Linnell, if you want to reach out to Agrippina, you can kind of look into where there may be opportunities to collaborate depending on what your agency does.
I have a question too, Matthew. How does the funds from the grant, how does it advance? I know it's gap financing, but how does it get these projects, to build, right, to shovel ready? And these was this funding basically closing the complete gap, and these projects are going to be underway? Or I just hearing, because I mean, we've heard about both, super excited to see it, and just wanted to know and kind of get a better understanding of like what the landscape of financing is for these projects too. Like, is this meeting the need, or is there still more?
Sure. Yeah, I don't want to speak out of my depth really necessarily here, but I do believe that the Mulberry Gardens project, and maybe some of the NPHS folks that are on the call can speak to this too. I think that 1.4 was the sort of last stretch, but I could be wrong about that. I do know that both of these projects, they had significant cost increase, like after they had been entitled and after they were already putting together their funding stack, and had been awarded loans from the city's housing authority and had gotten tax credit or TCAC financing, and I think one of them has gone for Mulberry Gardens has gone for ASIC funding as well, and costs just went up and they suddenly had a gap that they didn't originally anticipate. I am not intimately involved with the kind of financial picture for these projects, but that's my best understanding of what their kind of situation was.
Hi, Matthew. Damien.
Yeah.
Hey, Damien.
You might not have the answer to this question, so I apologize. But I saw the 571 or so affordable units that are in the pipeline. Do you have any sense of how many other types of units are in the pipeline within the city right now?
I do. I am going to stop sharing and pull that up just so I can read it off to you in a second. I actually just pulled this information for one of our council members the other day. So let me see here. Bear with me just a second.
No worries. Thank you for looking it up.
So we have 930 units under construction. We have 3,100 units that have been entitled. We have 2,150 units that are going through the entitlement process right now. So we're looking at an overall pipeline of 6,000 or 7,000 units.
Got it. Thank you. Is it correct to assume that most of that is rental or multifamily, or is?
It's all different kinds of projects. Honestly, we don't have a lot of land left for kind of single family subdivisions, although they do happen, and we are still entitling them. I think we have 600 or 800 units that are under construction right now in the kind of Woodcrest and kind of Ward 4 area. But the vast majority of these are infill projects that are mostly rentals.
Got it. Thank you.
one of the kind of funny double-edged swords of having an expensive housing market is that there is a lot of development interest, even though we are trying to counteract the worst effects of that pricey market. But thank you again for having me, and I please feel free to reach out. My contact information was at the end of the slideshow that I think Melanie has and can share out with this group if you want to talk further.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Matthew. We appreciate you coming and stepping in for Michelle, and we're excited for this new shift for the city of Riverside in terms of departments and where we see that success lies in terms of getting things done. So thank you again so much. If no one has any further questions, I want to pivot and change to some pillar updates, some time for announcements. I'm going to quickly share my screen real quick. I'll go over a few things and then we'll get the pillars chairs or a pillar member to kind of just spell out, maybe just highlight one or two things if there is anything to mention. So give me 1 second as I share my screen. All right, can everyone see it okay? Great. So just wanted to revisit the Inland SoCal Housing Collective is partnering with the Inland Regional Energy Network to ensure that our region is up to date with energy efficiencies for building for commercial, residential construction. And so right here, they're collecting a survey on how to roll out the education series, how to ensure our private and public sector is getting information and the training is geared towards their best learning, best time, best days, and so forth. So if you are from the private sector, the planning department, public sector or private sector, architect, designer, electrician, home inspectors, please take the survey. Is just about like 5 minutes long. In addition, IREN is also offering classes. They've already started virtual online training. Here are some of the classes or trainings that they have offered next week and in the month of October. Lastly, I wanted to throw up this flyer, what our expansion of housing solutions pillar has done a home retention, foreclosure prevention, education series and trainings where our HUD counseling agencies have hosted workshops or information sessions to highlight the California Mortgage Relief Program. This is a state program that allows people who are struggling with financial hardship. They're a homeowner, maybe they had late property taxes, loan deferrals, missed mortgage, partial claims, or in a reverse mortgage, and need to get and need assistance. This program is accessible. We're trying to promote this, especially in our region, to ensure that our residents, our community is drawing down these funds and accessing them. So there's a lot of people missing this information, and they expanded the timeline, the eligibility timeline, as well as the eligibility requirements. So we're trying to make that known by hosting a series all throughout the county, both counties. This coming month, the next one is, we just had one with NID in Moreno Valley. The next one will be on September 30th. They're doing an information session at NHSIE. So if any of your residents in the surrounding area in the Valley would like to attend, I could just reach out to me. I could send you the personalized flyer. I also included this in our newsletter that went out this morning. And this is posted on our website also. Another quick announcement is the Inland SoCal Housing Collective secured the Fellowship Award with the Bank On initiative, national initiative. So we are moving towards hiring a full-time employee to lead out this coalition work. The Bank On Coalition is housed within our second pillar, our wealth building and preservation pillar. So the job description will be released at the end of this week. So look for that. And if you know anyone who's interested, please send them my way. It's a quick turnaround time because we have training to start with this national initiative that will begin the second week of November. So. And lastly, I'm still trying to collect and get information from those who participated in the HPLA Academy last year. If you did, please take time to answer this quick survey so we can get some information, see if any policies were followed, if anyone had engaged with their local jurisdictions, either city, county, or state, and see how those policies landed, if they were pursued, if they were stalled, or if there were some adjustments that needed to be made and taken a step back. So we'd love to hear from you all about that. All right. So now we can move on to pillar updates. I hope I didn't steal the thunder of a couple of the chairs, but I think there's more information that we can elaborate and invitation we can add to some of the pillars. So are there any pillar chairs that'd like to start off, jump off first? Or members?
Well, this is David Hahn again, and just a quick commercial for an event coming up that really ties into our pillar, which is getting engagement going with different business lines and different industries into our collective. But one of our collective members, Fair Housing Council of Riverside County, is having their 19th annual Champions for Justice Awards banquet. And it is going to be on Thursday, October 12th at the Riverside Convention Center. I would strongly encourage you to check out their website to get more details about it and how to RSVP for the event. It's always a very good event and it's a great opportunity for networking. Last year, I made some very good contacts with others that were not engaged with the Inland SoCal Housing Collective that now have either joined or are in the process of doing that. One being the resulting merger of U.S. Bank and Union Bank, and how now they're active, a lot more active than they were in the Inland Empire going forward. And that was all just by attending this and talking to them at their table. So it's a great networking opportunity. It's a great spot to talk more about the collective and what we bring to the table, and how they can bring even more to the table for others to benefit from. Again, that's October 12th, Thursday, October 12th. It's at 6 p.m. It's the 19th Annual Champions for Justice at the Riverside Convention Center, and that is sponsored by the Fair Housing Council of Riverside County. And just one other little note, and yeah, I'll embarrass you, Damien. Damien and Jennifer O'Farrell both are being honored as the community honorees this year for being champions of justice, or champions for justice. So Damien, congratulations.
Thanks, David.
That's it, Melanie.
Thank you, David, and congratulations, Damien. Any other announcements or pillar updates?
Melinda Opperman here, credit.org. I'm glad to share an update, and I'd like to congratulate you on your leadership for our obtaining the Bank On Fellowship Award. Great job. That was major. For the pillar, we are working on, because the date's going to be around the corner here soon, America Saves Week. It's been moved this year from February to April to coincide with Financial Literacy Month, and the date will be April 8th to April 12th. The theme is saving for what matters most. So of course, people need to have bank accounts, which coincides with the Bank On initiative. And then for Inland Empire Saves, which for those who weren't aware, inlandempiresaves.org, that's our campaign here as part of the collaborative. And we were awarded a mini grant out of about 60 local Saves campaigns nationwide. Only 3 of the 60 campaigns were awarded what's called a mini grant, and Inland Empire Saves received a small grant. So that's it from us.
Thank you, Melinda. All right, Alan.
Great, thanks. So I'm Alan Greenlee, the chair of the Educate and Advocate pillar. Just want to acknowledge that we've reached the end of the legislative session. The collective took a position on, I think, about 13 bills. I'm not sure we've done the evaluation of what our batting average is, but certainly the, running the proposed pieces of legislation through a rubric that is consistent with our values is something that we've been working toward for a number of years, and taking a position on those bills represents an all-time high for the organization. So really thankful to Melanie and an intern that she had working for her, whose name is escaping me right now. Elizabeth?
Oh, Elizabeth, yeah. She
Elizabeth.
finished last month, yeah.
Elizabeth, and the really great work that happened there, which made it all possible. And then, of course, to the folks who are part of the pillar, I appreciate y'all's help. We meet every first Tuesday of the month at about 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I'm watching Melanie I'm doing lip reading
10.
over here. 10 o'clock. So you guys are welcome at any time. We'd love to have you. I think, given that the legislature is done for the year and ramping up towards January, I think there'll be a couple of activities that we'll be considering. One will be taking a look at the budget. We were fairly active last year in the budget proposal to make sure there was a strong allocation of funding for home ownership for first-time and low-income home buyers. And I expect that we'll continue to support that. But just as the state, as it pulls its budget together, we will be getting ourselves organized to advocate on that. The other thing I wanted to mention was that the legislature passed ACA 1, which put onto the ballot for November of 2024, as if there wasn't enough stuff on that ballot already. Consideration of a lowering of the voter threshold for general obligation bonds from a 2/3 majority to a 55% majority. The collective is participating in a statewide coalition that's doing some campaign work on that. So there'll be more on that soon. I think as it relates to the specific policy right now, the bill passed. There are interested parties on sort of either side of the passage of the bill. So those who are not necessarily inclined to support general obligation bonds have organized themselves to oppose. And those of us who are seeking to lower that voter threshold have organized to support, but with certain conditions. And so we've got an agreement from the bill author, to engage in conversations for the next 3 months to clean up the bill so that it can be amended in January in time to be able to get the measure on the ballot in a way that we think is beneficial for low-income residents of our communities throughout the state.
Alan, you mind if I add just one more thing, which is just an invitation to those on the meeting that if you have issues that are housing related that you'd like us to consider advocating alongside you on, or educating decision makers, please make sure to bring those to our attention. We have a kind of a vetting rubric as well for letters of support. Certain things we can automatically support if they fall within our priorities, and other things we might need to bring to the board. But that is certainly a resource that's available to all of our partners.
Okay, does that leave me email?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Ayako Tsumi here, Expansion Housing Solutions. Melanie talked a little bit earlier about the California Mortgage Assistance Fund by the state of California. She showed that flyer, but I bet everyone on this call knows at least one person or knows of someone who knows like a lower moderate income household that may be struggling with mortgage related payments during the COVID period. So it could stem anything from back taxes on property taxes. It could be anything related to a reverse mortgage, for example, insurance costs related to reverse mortgages, as well as the mortgages themselves. So it's important that we as a collective send out that flyer. And Mel, if I may ask you to send that flyer separately so that it may be forwarded easily to your respective email chains, email networks. We need to reach those mortgage holders, most of whom will be lower income, that there's up to $80,000 in assistance. We must keep as many people stably housed with stable mortgage as possible. It's critical for our community stability. So we ask that you do forward this flyer on to your respective networks, because I bet you we each are, within 2 or 3 degrees of separation of someone who might qualify. So please do that. I wanted to thank NPHS for taking the lead on our first outreach for getting the California Mortgage Relief training or access education out there. So thanks for doing that. Apparently someone that attended their outreach session actually ended up qualifying, did get assistance. So this does work. We're moving out to other areas of the IE. Our next one up is when again? The 30th, NHSIE?
Yeah, the 30th.
Okay.
Saturday morning.
Yes. So if you know someone who is near San Bernardino, Saturday morning, the 30th, there will be an opportunity for people to have a confidential one-on-one discussion with a HUD counselor. And, sometimes people are hesitant to speak to their mortgage company, their bank. They prefer to kind of have a side conversation with a qualified counselor. So this is an opportunity to make those referrals. We will have additional events, hopefully more out on the East Coast. As we said earlier, we don't want to exclude anyone from this opportunity. NPHS is also providing leadership by offering an education session on September 25th. That's this coming Tuesday, the 26th. Right, Mel? The Tuesday at, did we say 10 a.m.? Yes, 10 a.m. If you have anyone in your organization who would like to learn more about the California Mortgage Assistance Fund, how they can counsel, how they can spread the word, please let Melanie know and we can get you connected. But again, information is changing. We just want to make sure everyone is staying on top of the latest information. And then we will also try to have further training for housing counselors. The down payment assistance programs put out by the private banks are constantly changing and being updated, and it's very difficult to stay on top of all that. So we thought we could provide a warehousing, clearinghouse function of currently all the down payment assistance programs that are out there, and that might make it easier for all the HUD counselors and everyone here on this call to be able to refer people for down payment assistance for home ownership. So that will be coming in the next few months. And so thanks to Mel for setting that up. We also haven't lost track of our focus on homelessness housing to help prevent and end homelessness. So we will be working more closely with the different COCs to see how we might better participate, how we might better support these ongoing efforts. And we'll talk more about that in detail later. Thank you. Oh, and then we do meet the second Thursday of every month at 9 a.m., 9 to 9:45. And I got 2 calls and 2 interests in the chat. So thank you for that. Please join us on October 12th, 9 a.m. Thank you.
And to piggyback on what Ayako had mentioned, I want to also invite any city or county, any municipalities that have any private or that have their own DPA that are looking to get it out and to inform the HUD certified counselors in our region. Please reach out to me, and you're welcome to also join this kind of roundtable discussion to inform and to educate and to ensure that the HUD counselors, the gatekeepers, right, know about your program and understand the program guidelines. All right, I'd like to open it up. If there's any additional updates or announcements anyone would like to have, we could take a few minutes to do so.
Yako here again. A few months ago, I mentioned that the Volunteers of America had some RV, recreational vehicle trailers donated by, originally was FEMA to the city of LA, and then the city of LA realized they couldn't do anything with them and nobody wanted those in their areas. And so because of the complexities of RVs, so you may think that, oh, well, you just set up an RV and it's easy, but the problem is utilities. How do you bring in water, restrooms, showers, cooking facilities? How do you bring in electricity? How do you bring in security? So all these things come into play, and then all of a sudden this kind of free housing, low income free housing, now all of a sudden has ballooned into multi-million dollars. So this is part of the conundrum we have, is some great ideas for temporary housing, at least, because we know there are tens of thousands of people who are homeless who might really appreciate being able to sleep in an RV with a lockable door tonight, but it comes with lots of conditions. So because of these complexities, even giving one RV could be problematic in terms of really being able to service the family or families that could live there. So if there is someone who has a plan and is able to show that you can provide restrooms, showers, kitchen facilities, etc., and you've got a property management plan, electrification plan, security plan. If you have all of that and you just need the trailers, please do reach out to me or Melanie, who can then refer you to me, and then we can talk. But ultimately it was decided that this was a little bit more complicated than originally thought. Now, the good news is the Water of Life community church that came on a few months ago with their amazing plan for food storage. They're going to create a major cold storage facility where all the smaller food banks could all, store their food, and then distribution centers could go to their facility to pick up food. Cold refrigeration has been an issue. They also have a permanent housing plan as well as a interim housing plan using RVs, and they have actually purchased 20 RVs from Volunteers of America at a significant discount. So that did happen, so we're happy about that. But again, Water of Life did have a very significant plan with infrastructure and all of that included in their plan, and that's why they were successful. So unless you're really got all those services lined up, RVs will be difficult. But again, if you'd like to discuss that with me, please reach out to Mel or me directly. Thank you.
I'm happy to hear that, Ayako. I've been thinking about that project for quite some time. So I'm glad that it panned out and that they're able to have that cost savings, right? And to move that towards the development of permanent housing. So that's awesome. That's a great win for the region. So thank
Yes.
you.
And that's 20 units that will be interim for a couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As they
Until the
build the
permanent
permanent.
can be
Yeah.
built. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank
Is
you.
that Matthew raising a hand or no?
Yeah. I think he has an announcement.
Oh, okay.
Since I'm here, the city of Riverside is developing a infill development ordinance that is specifically designed to streamline and facilitate development of small substandard infill lots with single or multifamily housing. We are looking for input from people who are involved in this space, specifically people who have development experience, but also any kind of stakeholder we would love to hear from. So I think what we're going to be doing is putting together kind of a little bit of a focus group to go through our draft ordinance language and kind of ground truth some of the standards that we have developed. And we would love anyone who's interested, please, I'll put my email in the chat if you want to reach out to me, if you want to participate in that. We will be getting a group together for that. So looking forward to hearing from folks on that. Thank you. Hope it's okay that I plugged that.
Nope, that's what this space is for. So thank you for utilizing it in that way, for sure. Melinda, go ahead. Do you have an announcement?
Yes, and Patrick may be able, or to add some more color to it. My topic that, Matthew, add some more color to it. One of my staff was able to attend today the award of the $7.4 million that HUD announced for the County of Riverside to address youth homelessness. My outreach coordinator, Jennifer Rodriguez, was there. And we understand it's the third highest award in the country. And so HUD was there at Community Action Partnership Riverside for their work with the Riverside County Continuum of Care. So I just thought that was a huge win for our area. The coordinator there that's over the COC's homeless youth program, Monique, led the planning and the writing process and worked with the Youth Advisory Council. So I just thought that was a big win we happened to hear today at an event for our area.
Melanie, I have one more since we have a little bit of time. So Ayaka Tsumi here again. And I wanted to let everyone know that the state of California Department of Aging is holding an invitation-only roundtable on preventing and ending older adult homelessness. It will be in a couple weeks in LA. And I wanted to say yours truly will be the principal on the final report, but Tanya Torno of County of Riverside's Department of, it's that long title, Housing, Workforce, will be one of the presenters of best practices. So Inland Empire will be featured in front of the whole state. And I wanted to share that with you. So Tanya Torno, County of Riverside, will be presenting, and I'll bring some highlights to you on our findings from this report. Thank you.
All right, and just quick updates this morning. I was able to attend the SCAG demographic webinar that they hosted. Quite extensive. I think it was from like 9 to noon. And they went over housing data for the state, for nationally. They also included the 2020 census has been released just I think 2 weeks ago. They were able to provide a short analysis over it. So it was super informal, super informational. I would like to refer you guys all to the website. Hopefully they post the recording or at least the presentation on their website too, for y'all to join. But had some great information in terms of housing and understanding the different population, different age groups, and the various trends that are happening. So, all right, if there's no further announcements, I would like to thank all of you guys for joining today, spending your time. Get 15 minutes back. And look forward, if there's any engagement, further questions you have, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can steer you in the right direction or answer your question. So again, thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Melanie.
Thanks, everyone.